Hello everybody and welcome to the new moon video. I'm going to be pulling 3 cards for this new moon cycle. So meaning between the new moon and the next full moon, which is around 2 weeks. So you can expect that whatever I'm saying in this new moon video might be happening right on the new moon, or it could be a few days before or after. And some people find the effects of the new moon can last a couple of weeks, a month, even a few months. It all depends on whether you were ready to plant those seeds of that new moon energy and how deeply does it take root in you. So typically though, we say like 3 days before, 3 days after, you can feel the effects of a new or a full moon. The new moon, of course, is the dark moon, so it means that we can't see the moon at all. It's always in the same sign as the sun. So when the new moon hits and we're in the sign of Gemini, the new moon's also in Gemini, and they align. So it's interesting because you've got the sun right beside the moon, but the moon is dark. So it's a time of new beginnings, and it's a time of planting seeds. And we're quite literally right now in the spring, and we're planting seeds outside, or plants. So think about this as you're listening to the video. Think about what new seeds you would like to plant in your life. What's beginning? What would you like to implement? What would you plant right now that you'd like to see grow? All right. So first of all, as per usual, I'm going to burn my sage for us. And if you have some sage, it's always great to burn some sage at the new and the full moon. Just cleanse, purge. I'm going to use a different deck this time that I don't normally read from, so I'm hoping it's going to bring something interesting too. That's my new moon contribution, is a different deck. Because sometimes the different imagery will just stimulate me more. So this is the Illuminati Tarot that we're going to be using for this reading. There we go. All right, so as usual, I wanted to let you know that there's an extended version of this video. If you end up really resonating with it and you want to listen to it, it's on patreon.com. So Patreon is like a site where you subscribe basically to follow me if you like my work. And I've got all kinds of stuff that I offer there for different tiers of how you can join, like meaning different prices and different things that are offered. So if you really like the video and you like my work, you might want to check out patreon.com, Catherine Allen. And the extended reading is 9 cards, and it's a more in-depth version of the astrology chart as well. So, because I do analyze the astrology chart and aspects of this new moon too. All right, so just gonna focus on this Illuminati Tarot. And wow, these are really thick cards, the deck, more than other decks. All right, so our first card is the 5 of Pentacles. So as you can see, you've got a beautiful temple in the back, full of light, golden light, green. The trees look beautiful behind it. You feel a sense of warmth, abundance inside this temple. But out in front, we have 2 people huddled together who are needing help. Who knows what's happened to them, but they're in a bad way. So this card often is a challenge to recognize which one are you. Are you worried about your finances? Because Pentacles is the sign as the suit of money or finance. Usually it's a card of difficulty with your money. Times are short. And of course, as we know right now, lots of people are. At the same time, you've got this beautiful, temple or pagoda or whatever behind it, sort of offering like a break or a respite or generosity. So you have to think about, am I in this position where I need help, or am I in a position where I am the generous one who could help others? Otherwise, the card signifies just a lot of worrying. Second card, it's the Three of Swords. As you can see, there's 3 swords piercing the heart, and it's surrounded by an archway, and it's got a rocky, wavy sea behind it. So the Three of Swords is a card of sorrow, and usually this is the card that actually means death more than the death card. Of course, as we know in the news, we're seeing still climbing tolls of people who are passing from the virus and other things. And we're not going to talk about predicting more of that, but I want you to think about your own grief, your own sense of sorrow or loss or grieving. It doesn't necessarily mean somebody died next to you or near you or that you know, but it might, times like this, when there's a lot of loss and a lot of souls leaving the earth, we're, and when we're locked down and staying home, a lot of emotional layers are starting to come back up to the top of the surface. You have time. Other people have time. Everyone's pondering, am I happy? Is this what I really want? Why am I thinking of this person? You might be more in touch with your feelings of grief and loss, whether it goes back a few months or 10 years. And I encourage you to let yourself feel it and let it wash out of your system. Our next card, interesting, is the Devil. What an interesting reading. Now, this devil, as you can see, he's dressed in red. He's got the horns sort of behind him instead of on his head. He looks bald in this one. He's got, a sexy mermaid-like creature below. He's got a man who's holding his head, who's got shackles on. They're both chained. One of them looks sort of obviously seductive or seduced, and the other one looks like they're in pain. And then there's all these sort of souls behind him. And the devil enjoys his power, right? He represents the shadow side of our nature, our humanity, which means the side of us that can be addicted, the side of us that can hide things, the side of us that can enjoy our power over others or let things happen at other people's expense. It can be, shady dealings, dirty pool, dirty politics, dirty money. Sometimes it's literally an individual in your life who's very powerful, very seductive, very controlling. Obviously narcissistic. It's all about what they want. So these cards are pretty heavy. I would suggest, that if you don't have someone like this directly in your life, all these cards sort of show you might be needing to leave or grieving somebody like this. And if it's not a direct individual in your life now that you actively should take a distance from, it could be somebody that you're processing or grieving from the past. Could be an ex, could be a family member, anywhere where these dynamics were going on. Again, it could be shedding something old. And if none of that seems to resonate, although I'd be surprised because most of us have known someone like this, then it could be that you're feeling this way about the way the government or politicians in particular are handling our welfare and our health. It could be a sense of loss of, if you're into conspiracy stuff. I'm being very neutral. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to be very neutral about all the information coming through on all sides right now, because that's sort of a devil card too. There's too much coming at us without enough proof. It's very hard to know, but there's definitely power people trying to sway us into all kinds of different camps right now. So it could be playing out on that level. But if it's in your personal life directly, and maybe you're living with someone who's difficult, or you're in a relationship where it's not above board, or somebody's hiding, cheating, whatever's going on, whether there's some sort of level of abuse going on, it's really time to think about leaving this behind you. And if you're grieving somebody from the past who was like that, then it's also time to let it out of your system and leave it behind you and cut cords, cut those chains. Now, when it comes to the astrology chart, it's interesting because the planets are mainly in Gemini. Now, we call it a stellium when there's a cluster of planets of more than 4 or 5 in one sign. And what it does is extra emphasizes the qualities of that sign, and sort of sets the stage for how things play out when there's so many of one sign. So right now we have the sun in Gemini, we have the moon in Gemini, we have Mercury in Gemini, and we have Venus retrograde in Gemini, and we have the North Node in Gemini. So that's sort of 5 things. So what is Gemini? Gemini is duality. Gemini is Jekyll and Hyde. Gemini is trying to balance these introvert-extrovert impulses that they have. They are very clever, intelligent people. They're up to speed on what's going on with the news, with pop culture, with the arts, with their neighborhoods. They know the skinny, they know the gossip. They know the going rate and the information that's being passed around, and they're adaptable and mentally agile and flexible, and they know how to adapt themselves to anyone. They know how to read your body language or speak your language, and they mirror it back to you. And so a lot of the time, Gemini can, when they're on their best, they're like amazing, because everybody feels that they can relate to them, and that they're having fun with them, and that they get them, and that they can be playful, and they learn, and they bounce ideas, and they brainstorm. But for the Gemini, they might not, like for the actual Gemini person, they might not feel that way about everybody that they come in contact with. They might find themselves really drained by it. And so they withdraw, and they need their time alone. And the women are a little more integrated with that than the men. Like most of the Gemini women I know, they need their downtime and their quiet time. But they'll still sort of maintain their communication with people. Like one of my Gemini friends will tell me, like she's more aware of herself, so she'll tell me, by the way, when I get home from visiting my family, I'm gonna need like 2 or 3 days where I'm alone, and then I'll talk to you later. Because she understands that that's what she needs, and she gives it to herself, and then she's back again. But the male Geminis I've known tend to be all or nothing. They're extremely charming and outgoing and, flirty and playful and creative-minded, and then all of a sudden, yep, nope, yeah, go away, kind of. And so they just disappear. And so you get this Jekyll and Hyde. Now you see me, now you don't. Who is this person? Which one are they? Which side of them is the true one? And so that does sort of play in to the devil card, if you will, because they're trying to integrate these two sides of them, and their behavior can can lead to a lot of confusion and hurt. You know, I'm sure it's stressful for them as well, but I'm talking about the effects of being with them. And because they are very now you see me, now you don't, or one day I'm this way and one day I'm that, they keep everybody on eggshells. If you want to be around a Gemini or you love a Gemini, you have to be always on eggshells. Oh, they want to talk. Oh, okay. I'll stop everything because they're finally talking, so I'll stop everything and listen. Then they withdraw, and then you're wondering why, and you feel hurt, and you just like, what happened? Where was the switch that just went on? Why you just Jekyll and Hyde it here? And if you accept, that this is their nature, and you just roll with it, some of them will, if they're self-aware, they will be able to work with that, and you'll find something stable of a relationship with them, even in the back and forth. But others will be able to hide anything from you, anything. Gemini can be notorious for having a double life, and you'd never know. They've got a wife in another country. They can pull it off. So right now, because the planets, we've got so much going on in Gemini, and Venus is there. Venus in Gemini is the ultimate chameleon and flirt, and it's retrograde. And so right now you might find that if you're in one of these dynamics, meaning that you've got a mistress, he's got, you're the mistress or the mistress, you've got something going on that's being hidden, something like of an intrigue or a flirtation going on, you might see that it gets a little bit deepened during the Venus retrograde, meaning like you feel like it's going somewhere, or it's really feeling good, but it's covert. And, you'll sort of pay a price for that later, for that attachment, because all those Gemini planets, and we're going to talk about the other aspects that are challenging that. There's other planets challenging this already flirtatious, dualistic nature that make us ripe for deception and for hiding things right now. It also, in some cases, if you are ready to really look at and be honest about where you stand, or take a stand with that kind of behavior, you might be ready to do so. But I'd say most people are probably going to be drawn into the fun side of this, and they're going to sort of allow the illusion or the intrigue. And so we got to be careful. If you would like to continue with the rest of this reading, then come visit me on the links below, patreon.com. You can subscribe to me and you'll get all of my extended readings every month. All right. Otherwise, I wish you well, and if you'd like a reading from me, if this is ringing any bells for you, then please give me a shout at river-rain.com or Clairvoyant Medium Catherine Allen on Facebook.